All right. Uh, Thank you for doing this, Deepak. And please introduce yourself.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for taking the time as well, Robin, and giving me the opportunity to be featured on your YouTube series. So again, I'm Deepak Gopalakrishnan, Director of Business Intelligence as part of TELUS Business Solutions, and I currently support a team of over 60 people, both onshore and offshore, and we enable the data for the data insights for our team, right? Be it P&L insights or campaign delivery of campaigns, all those data enablement have been predominantly done by my team.
All right. Now, we talk about data analytics. Why do we need data analytics? Why is that important?
And I think if you look at a past, most of the business decisions were taken by leaders. They didn't have a lot of reports or data at their dispense, and it was all based on their gut feeling. And when the early stages of business was based on demand and supply, right, predominantly, so it was all good. It enabled the growth of the business. But in the last 20 years or so, Googles of the world have changed. It's not just Googles of the world. Googles of the world or Apples of the world have changed the way consumers or citizens use tools around them, right? So in my, like for me, I was just reflecting back. Why do we need analytics? And I think it starts with, like, forget about the business context, even in the personal context. When I'm on a 401, the decision of me spending more time on the highway, if even if I miss one exit, if I didn't know that there was an accident,
Right,
and that will cost me an hour. I've personally, I don't know other, how about you? I've personally sat on a highway for over 1.5 hours. If I had known, like, I was lazy not using my mobile phone, if I had used my mobile phone, I would have known that, hey, I could have taken the exit.
right.
So since then, no one understands how many hours I've saved by using Google Maps or Apple Maps on the traffics, like using the traffic on the Google Maps. Like, that's the power of data for me, like in a simplistic context, right? If you just multifold it when you come into the business, where TELUS is almost a $15 billion business, and the more data driven organizations are, they wanted to unleash the power of data. And we collect data in multiple formats, right? How do we make sure those data are curated and we are able to drive business value, right? When, like, collecting data is easy, but what are you doing with the data is the so what is going to be very important. And I think that's the perspective of data analytics. Data analytics is, for me, is a structured taking, like, it allows you to take an unstructured data into a structured way and driving value and driving business outcomes, right? That's the reason why I see the data analytics is very important in the human lives, and for the foreseeable future, like, it will transform. And obviously, I believe data analytics will evolve, right? Today we are playing with the data, and there would be, in 3-4 years time, I would say the data analytics will transform. Maybe I'm answering your next question. Per se is, how do we consume this data, and like, what's the interaction between this data and humans is going to be evolving everyday basis.
Right. And that's the next question. What what would it look like? What would the environment look like 3, 4 years from now?
Yeah, like, I'm just dealing with some of the vendors, and it's fascinating to see the capabilities that vendors are imagining, right? So, for example, in the past, when you want to do modeling, you have to go find the data, right? Okay, churn propensity. Like, who are Like I have, let's say, a TELUS has about 9 million TELUS connections, and our churn rate is about less than 1%. But how do you identify who these customers are going to churn? Why are they churning? How can I prevent that churn? Our capabilities of propensity modeling started probably around 7-8 years ago. And back then we had to go fetch the data, we have to cleanse the data, we have to identify which are the attributes or the features that will predict the churn aspect of it, right? But now you fast forward, the tool market have changed where I'm just working with a vendor. They have tools where I just need to give the data, right? What I mean by that is the data can be in 10 different tables, right? What is my customer? What is identifying the customer and the firmographic of the customer? Then what are the network usage? What are the call center usage? Or like how many times the customer's called? I don't need to stitch the data. I just need to prepare this data and I need to just plug the data into the tool. And the tool will automatically look for permutation combinations and say, hey, these are the 10 features that have high probability for churn, right? So you're moving from a human looking at the data and the outcomes are limited, right? But again, there's a pros and cons, right? Again, if you ask a data scientist, they say that, hey, Deepak, I'm very uncomfortable because it's kind of a black box. I don't know how this tool is telling me all these predictions. Is it good or bad? And if you are doing the old way, you can say, okay, yes, the tool has predicted 8 of the 10 features that we know that are the good indicators of churn. That is the big transformation in my humble opinion, right? The processing power, the RAM capabilities, it's all evolutionary in this capabilities from that standpoint, right? But however, it's a limitation because even though this capability fascinates us, this tool can only process X amount of data, because there are limitations within from a space perspective and from a processing perspective. And you need, when you're seeing lots of volumes of data, how quickly can it do the permutation combinations? Those are some of the evolutions I think will happen. But in my opinion, sometimes we feel that our humans outperformed by computers or technology. In my opinion, it comes back to human capabilities. We need to tell what problem we need to solve. That's where the analysts come in place. The understanding of the business, understanding of the value, understanding of the data, and leveraging those tools to unleash the power.
Right. And that's actually an interesting segue to the next question when it comes to our students getting into the field. What are the things that you're seeing or looking for that you're not really seeing as much with the candidates that you're getting?
You know what? I can. It's an interesting question, and I think I need to give a perspective of me because 16, 17 years ago, I was in the same boat, and the challenges that I see is pretty much similar. It's not changed a lot. Like it's the same type of challenges when I go out and look for that in the market. And the challenges I feel was the same challenges that I personally had 16, 17 years ago. So again, my data journey started when I was a sales guy. My first job was in sales, even though I had a lot of technical background, engineering background. I did wireless networking diploma in George Brown. My first job was sales, and I enjoyed it. Even though I questioned why am I doing sales after being a technical, but that's the power of immigration. But I would not even once think that I took a wrong career journey. It was the best journey because I was closer. Like being in sales for me is closer to customer, understanding what customer needs, and what products customer. How does customer look at the product? Even though when you look at the product differently, right? But then my first journey of a data started with the prompt of my boss asking, Deepak, you seem to do activation, like you seem to activate a lot of wireless Rogers accounts, but we have 10 stores, 9 stores back then. But how do you see how we can improve the activations within the the other stores? What are the best practices that you're doing? And the first thing I did was, okay, when you say that we need to improve and I'm doing better, how are the other teams are doing? And that's where the data comes, right? You need to go and look for the data. Where is the data, right? How do I know that, where am I standing? Or is it true that you're saying that this store is doing better compared to the other stores? How do you validate that statement? And since then, that is the impromptu for why do we need data and what problem we are trying to solve. At that point of time, I didn't understand why is he asking, what am I supposed to do, and the answer and the path for it, right? It's naturally, oh, you need to solve the problem. Can I get some data? You get some data, you live with the data. And it was just simple Excel files, and you're just making some assumptions and saying, hey, I think these are the reasons, I think these are the things we can do. And there we go. And then I joined TELUS, and things evolved. And I've always looked at the data from, like being a technical guy, you say that you have a problem, okay, what data can I get for Robin to help? I just need to figure it out, and I'll go get the data. And sometimes I just, Robin, tell me what data you want. I just go fetch the data and give it to Robin. And I don't spend enough time to understand what are your problems. Like, even though I had the same experience as being a sales guy and supporting my boss to enable sales, I was not able to correlate that it always starts with a business problem. And you asking the questions on what problem you're trying to solve, what are the relevant data, and half that relevant data, how much are available for me and how much are not available to me. Sometimes you want all the data. You will having access to data, having the availability of data is one aspect, having the accessibility to the data is different aspect. I can do a separate session just on accessibility of the data itself. But it all goes back to when I look at the team, when I sit and interview candidates, whether it's junior level or mid-level, senior level makes sense. What I see the opportunity for the students that are coming out is understanding or trained to think from a business context. They're so very well trained on tools, concepts, but how do you convert that concepts, concepts into meaningful actions, right? Like, again, language. We all study language, but the power of language is in this communication. How do I communicate my ideas out? A book or language can, I can just learn a language from book, what is grammar and stuff like that, right? I can go and learn vocabulary. I can just exhaust my capability of words and I can memorize words. But in the context of what is the message I want to share, how do I choose the right words in such a way that not to showcase that I know all these things. My power or my success lies in if I'm able to communicate what I wanted to communicate. And how do you make sure that you bring in the relevancy? And that comes with experience. But before it comes with experience, it comes with the intent of what problem do I want to solve and the ability to ask questions. I think it all comes down to problem solving. I think the bigger opportunity for the students is how do you take down the problem? How do you take a problem and how do you have a dialogue to break the problem into sub points and solve the problem? That's what I would say that it's an opportunity for the students to leverage.
And what suggestions do you have with students, apart from what they get in school? Is there an opportunity for them to augment what's in that school experience so that they're better prepared when they come to you for interviews, for example?
Yeah, absolutely. If I reflect back in my journey, I don't know how to solve this. Maybe it warrants a deeper conversation with folks like you, Robin, and with some of the students population as well, a student community as well. I think it comes down to, today we have the mechanism, if I know, there are academia work, there's project work, and project is where you get all the experiences. But how do you create modules in such a way that, hey, in this project, what problem you're trying to solve? What is your methodology of solving the problem? And educating them how to break that problem statement into, a vague problem statement into a meaningful, structured problem solving, right? Maybe training the team, training the students in that problem-solving concepts, I think will educate them better, because it also imparts a point of communication as well, right? It comes down to soft skills at some point, right? Like, art of speaking. But how do you talk? How do you convert your technical knowledge, which our team members, like students, are usually they easily get accessible, right? Like you can sit in front of the computer and learn your Python skills. But okay, Python is just going to enable you to do the work. But for you to know what is the actual work to be done, how do you ask those questions? And as we can impart that as part of the project work and create as a module and invest time to say, this is what is a very important component that gives you a success for the rest of the other things you're trying to do.
Right.
Again, it's just a idea. There are multiple ways to do it. I'm pretty sure you folks have already thought about it and incorporated it, but how do you bring it to the practical aspect of it?
That's wonderful. Now, just the last question, and maybe your wisdom, being in this field longer than most of our audience and the ones who have been watching, what would be this wisdom that you can impart for one of the many that you have, I'm sure?
In the context of data analysis, what is data analysis? People think that data analysis means my career is revolving around data, which I don't think so. For me, data analysis is going to be foundation for many roles, be it project management, be it product development, be it business analysis, right? Like marketing, finance, any role for that matter. The aspect of data is going to be very important, because data is going to empower you to look for the areas of opportunities. You don't have to deal with all the data analysis. You don't have to crunch the numbers, but having an knowledge of understanding of data analysis is going to enable students, whichever field they take, to be successful, right? So you can take it from a technical perspective. A data analyst can be, hey, I'm going to go deeper into the field of preparing the data or enabling the data, right? That's one aspect of it. Or you can go into the field of planning. Okay, how many customers how many customers am I going to get this month or for this year? Even that involves some kind of data. Analyzing where are we spending, like looking at all the revenue and expenses of any organization. You need to digest all the information. So you can see any of these aspects of it, whether you're going to launch a product. So you need data analysis across the board. So data analysis is just a means to drive the outcomes, right? And having a passion for this, like for me, is like data analysis is like a tool in everybody's toolkit, right? How deep you want to go might differ the type of options you can choose, right? And it always comes to, I think the wisdom, in my opinion, is, start asking a lot of these questions, business questions, through the aspect of data, to say what type of data do I need to answer my business problem. I think if you can steer your conversation, steer your thought process around that, and gaining the skill sets. Like the way I look at it is, irrespective of whatever the courses you have, maybe you have a bachelor's degree or a diploma degree, all I see that is you're going to gain tools that you're going to add to the student's toolkit of how you can problem solve. And I think as long as we can reflect that to say, this is the business problem, and I'm going to analyze the business problem, and I'm going to use my tools to solve the business problem, it's a shift in mindset, right? It's a rather going from a functional mindset to a business problem mindset. I think that shift, if we are able to incorporate that in our thought process, I think that will be a night and day in anyone's career journey, is what my feeling is.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for taking time to chat with us today. and have a great day.
My pleasure. Thanks again for giving me the opportunity, and it was great to connect with a lot of your audiences through this medium.